Hi, hello everyone. I am Jen Reimund, your host, and today with me I have Miss Mary O'Malley. She is an author, teacher, and counselor whose work awakens others to the joy of being fully alive. Her inspired and transformative approach to being with life, no matter what is happening, offers a way to replace fear, hopelessness, and struggle with ease, well being, and joy. Barely surviving her childhood, at 26, she found herself lost in a labyrinth of self hatred, confusion, and despair, constantly trying to fix herself so that she would finally feel okay. Then a teacher showed her that fixing was an endless game and that would never bring the peace she longed for. Instead, she was in being present for herself with all her struggles that she would be healed. Over the years, this awakening continued to work in the depths of Mary's being, setting her on the path to changing her whole relationship with the challenges in her life, freeing her from a life of struggle and opening her to the joy and the wonder of being fully awake to life.
Mm,
Since then, she has dedicated her life to helping others to heal by seeing the conditioning they took on that blocks them from life's joy through her individual counseling and coaching, online courses, books, classes, retreats, radio shows, blogs, and ongoing groups. Mary invites people to experience the miracle of awakening. She's committed to helping people heal their inner wars so that they can become a part of the healing of our planet.
mhm,
I love that.
mhm,
Mary, you just speak to me in so many ways. I
mhm,
know that you speak about your childhood a lot,
mhm,
and I can resonate with a lot of the, stuffing down the feelings and
mhm,
things of
mhm.
that nature. Why don't you tell me a little bit about kind of your history and what got you here?
Well, I think the Reader's Digest version is a childhood you wouldn't wish on anybody. And I learned pain is a part of life, right? And when you're a child, you don't know how to deal with pain, whether it's physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain. And so we all learned how to stuff it, not being aware that it doesn't go away. It just influences you from underneath your everyday awareness. And I got to the place where I was in two mental hospitals, the second one for the better part of a year. And when that didn't work, when I got out of that hospital in the next year, I tried to kill myself 3 times. And I hated myself for being a failure at suicide. Even suicide, you are a failure at. And so when a child, we're all wounded. All of us are wounded when we are growing up, some of us more than others. And when we're a child, we're at the center of the universe. So if there is something off in our family, we think it's something wrong with us. And that is just such a painful way to live. And my first teacher, when I was 27, taught me that fixing is the endless game and taught me how to see what is. But he didn't teach me how to see it with compassion. And it wasn't until I met Stephen Levine 10, 11 years later that then all these parts of me that I hated, that I feared, that I judged, my loneliness, my depression, my despair, my guilt, my shame, my fear, my terror, my self pity, my jealousy, that I've learned that all of those are just the moving parts of being a human. And that as you learn how to bring them back to your heart, in other words, to meet them in compassion, oh, fear, I see you. I am here with you, rather than, oh my God, fear is here again. What's wrong with me? I did all that work with that therapist. You'd think it would be gone by now, but it's still here. I'm the worst person in the face of the planet because I can't fix myself. That's so different than, hi, fear. I see that you're here. And it's just amazing. The more you do this kind of work, I just finished my sixth book because that what we're talking about is a radical shift in how to heal. Most of our healing has been done with management. And I'm not saying we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If you're having a hard time, you go to a therapist or you go to a doctor, or you take a pill. But what we're doing is we're adding engagement. We're adding the ability to, in a very safe way, to ask, what am I experiencing right now? What is here that needs my loving attention? And that is how I set, in those years of mental hospitals and suicide attempts, I also broke my own arm. I was drunk and I was staying at a friend's house, and I went to hit the bed, and the duvet cover covered a board across the end of the bed. And it felt so good to hurt myself. And I just kept on hitting until I passed out, and I woke up the next morning with a football for an arm. And so I am a very good example that no matter how deep your fear is, no matter how deep your self-hate is, no matter how deep your despair is, your loneliness is, that all of these states are workable. And the more you meet them in your heart, the more they become like clouds passing through the vast blue sky. You don't take them personally, and you begin to realize you are the sky.
Oh, I love that analogy.
So you said you're working on your sixth book. And what is the evolution on the books that you've written? Are they all generally along the same lines, or have they grown? Or
They've grown just like I've grown. Although my first book, Belonging to Life, I have been recording it to put it on Audible. And this is the first time in decades that I've spent time with this book. Oh my God, Jennifer, I fell in love with it. And I learned so much from it, because for me, my agent once asked me, do I ever get writer's block? And I said, no, I don't. And she said, you're the only writer I've ever worked with that doesn't get writer's block. And I said, that's because I know I'm not the one that's writing it. I just asked life, okay, what do you want me to say? And when something starts moving through me, I just start writing. And it was just so delightful. That was my very first book. And then in those years that, the suicide attempts and all that, I also gained 97 pounds in a year, because I had learned over the years to, when I was with my family, to use food to stuff all this pain. Then when I went away to college, I learned alcohol. And then when I left college, I learned drugs. And I used all of these to try to manage my pain, because nobody had ever taught me how to be with it in a safe way. All the therapy I was doing was understanding where it came from, and how to manage it. It wasn't about engagement. And so slowly and surely, the next book I wrote was, when I self-published it, it was called Healing and Being Healed by Our Compulsions. I love that title. But of course, they had to change it. The publisher had to change it. So now it's The Gift of Our Compulsions. And then the next book was a parable, because I love metaphors. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I wrote a whole book on called The Magical Forest of Aliveness, about how a little girl was born in the magical forest of aliveness. All of us were. And then eventually she got caught in the village called Mind,
yeah.
and what happened to her there, and how she got out of it, and what happened when she gets back into the magical forest again, and she sees who she really is, and I'm forgetting a book here. There's too many books. Uh, that's interesting. Belonging. Oh, yes. Then What's in the Way? That's the most well-known book. It's been endorsed by so many experts in my field. And I tell people, you don't even have to read the book. Just live the title. Because what I learned, belonging was more about how to really engage with life as it is, and discover the magic of it. And the gift of our compulsions was more about how do you work with struggle? Because its premise is our core compulsion is to struggle. All of our other compulsions are an attempt to numb out from that heartache. And so then the parable, and then what's in the way, and then I wrote a wonderful little book called Falling in Love with You,
Mm.
which is just quotes. It's quotes about what was like before our heads started filling up with thoughts. And what was it like when we began to close our hearts to ourselves? And then what it is like to begin to open your heart again.
Mm.
And then what it is like that then you become a healing force on our planet. And I've been writing a lot of blogs about the war, and people are just so many responses of thank you for such a healthful vision of what can come out of this time, and that there's actually something I can do, and so my latest book is another parable, and I have matured, and now it is everything I've offered in all the other books in a story form.
Mm.
And I had a friend of mine read it, and she said, what's in the way is her Bible. She just absolutely loved this book. But she got so much more out of this book because she saw somebody else do the journey from unconsciousness to consciousness, from control to connection, from doing to being.
Mm.
And we're looking for a publisher as we speak right now. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait till it comes out. I might have
Me
to
too.
put it in my cart. Well, that's great. And so, what kind of things do you take people through so that they can see this kind of thing, the awakening for themselves? Um,
Well, I think the most important thing is to begin to understand that thought is a wonderful tool for maneuvering through reality, but it's not reality. We tumble from one thought to another all day long. And when I show people there's a difference between having your attention here in this moment and having your attention on thought, it is just so astounding for so many people. And then I show them how they can begin to relate to thought rather than from it. And usually by that time, people are beginning to see the places in the stream of thought where they get hooked. And that's the places where we got caught in struggle. And that is when you show somebody how to dissipate, how to these knots that show up in our bodies as cricks in our neck, and knots in our solar plexus, and aches in our back, and overall just tightness. When you show people how they can use their attention to invite these old beliefs to let go. Now, what I said, it's so important. It's so different. This is really, I think, the leading edge of what we are discovering that healing really is. We don't really need to fix anything. It's just we took on all of these beliefs when we were young. I mean, I'd love to say that from your parents, you absorbed language. You also absorbed their unconscious view of the world. And if they were fighting, having a really bad fight down in the basement in a soundproof room, and you were up in the attic, you could feel that argument. You experienced that argument. And so all of us absorbed our view of ourselves and our view of the world. And most of us are raised by unconscious giants that may have loved us, but they wounded us in many, many ways. Most ways they weren't even aware that they were wounding us. And so we carry these wounds. And the man I studied with the most, Stephen Levine, who really wrote books on death and dying, but really they were books on how to be fully alive. He tells a story of a 93-year-old woman, and she's dying. And she said, it can't end now because it hasn't started yet.
Mm.
So most of us spend our lives doing life, trying to fix ourselves, trying to make ourselves be what we think we should be so we can purchase that love that we need, from the outside, we needed as a child. We spend our lives trying to get to what we want and get rid of what we don't want. And that's all the endless game of struggle.
Mm.
And what we're learning now, when you really step back for a moment and realize maybe I don't have to be a construction site anymore. Maybe I am absolutely perfect in my imperfections. Maybe I, just like everybody else, is a mixture of dark and light. And then just maybe what heals is attention.
Mm.
And this is what happens to this person in this new parable that I wrote. And she eventually gets caught in the fort called mind in the valley of forgetting. But then she learns how to quiet her mind and open her heart, and she knows there's more to her journey. All of us know there's more to our journey than just doing, fixing, struggling. And every once in a while it comes together and then it falls apart again. And then we think, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Not understanding that that's life. And then she starts walking through the forest, and then she gets up to the meadows, and then she gets to the mountain of being, and she begins to remember her heart. And as all the parts of her are woven back home into her heart, she becomes a healing presence in the world. And how do you do that? Through attention. Our parts are just like you and I. When we tell them you shouldn't be like that and you need to change, what happens to us? Ooh.
Mm.
When somebody says, oh, I hear you, I understand, I am here with you right now, you calm down. It's the same with our parts. And what we're talking about is the holiday time. And I think the holiday time is really a perfect backdrop. It amplifies both our longing to have life be a particular way, which is suffering, because, oh, the commercials promise, if you really decorate your house, or you go caroling or whatever, then finally you'll be happy, and that's the endless game of trying to search and search. It's like trying to catch a butterfly with a butterfly net that has more holes than net. And the other thing about the holidays that is so powerful is it ramps up our doing. And so, we have all these parties we have to go to, and all these decorations, and and oh my God, the lights go out, and we have to fix that, and oh my God, do we have enough wrapping paper, and and all this, it's just it's insanity. And what we do is we become like hot air balloons, and we slowly and surely we arise, and we leave ourselves. And we leave ourselves for more alcohol, more Christmas cookies, more busyness, and our heart aches. But that's because we don't know how to come back into being, to nourish ourselves with simply being. We're afraid of simply being. I am here to tell you, as somebody that was completely, I went as far away as you could from myself and life because the pain I experienced was so great. And that process of coming back, I mean, when I first started meditating all those decades ago, I couldn't even notice my breath. It was too intimate.
Mm.
I had to notice sounds around me. But slowly and surely, I was able to come back to my breath and then to my body. And that's really hard for a lot of us that have had difficult childhoods. And then begin to listen to my body, not only its wisdom, but its holdings. That, as Stephen would say, the body is solidified mind. That grief that you had to stuff as a child may very well live in this on again, off again lump in your throat, or that fear that you're not doing it right enough or good enough may live in that knot in your solar plexus. That fear may live in this clench in your jaw. It's just, my job is to show people that it is safe to come back into being. And with all of your longing for more of this and more of that and less of this, this is what you really long for. To be connected to yourself and connected to your life.
Mm. Such a powerful message. I feel like we are definitely all in this way of being, of the doing, especially right now. And
Yeah.
we all think there's something wrong with us, that there's something to be fixed.
Everybody. I've worked with people for over 40 years. This is this the thing that's so important to get is at one time there was no thoughts in your head, not a one, when you were very little. And I call it the storyteller, that it began to gain momentum. And as you begin to learn how to watch your storyteller and listen to other people's storytellers, all of them at the core have this belief they're not enough. I don't care if you're the CEO of a major corporation. These are people I've worked with, psychotherapists, other teachers of meditation. Everybody has got that belief in the core of their storyteller that they're not enough. The exact opposite is true. Everybody is a unique event in the universal unfolding. Life has brought them forth because it needed to express itself as them. And when we understand that we're perfectly imperfect, we begin to relax into life and we begin to live the reason why we were given birth. But you got to see that belief for what it is. It's not the truth.
Yeah.
You're
And
more
so,
than enough.
yeah, absolutely. So, to really bring the awareness back into yourself and to provide yourself self-care, what is something that you do to care for yourself?
Breath. It's that simple, Jennifer. I don't know what I would have done without this connection with my breath. First of all, the breath will tell you even quicker than your mind will that you're caught in reaction. There was a study done once of a teacher told me this, and I've searched for it online. I've never found it. So this may or may not be true, but I think that the message of the study is very important. And it makes sense that what it's saying is true, that all the children that they studied up until they went to preschool, were breathing like dogs and cats breathe. Their whole trunk was involved. Not one of them was breathing their natural breath by the time they went to first grade.
Mm.
So we hold our breath and we don't realize how that cuts us off from wisdom, from vitality, from nourishment. They say that at the most, people use 10 to 15% of their lungs. And when you breathe deeper breaths, you literally are bringing in more life-giving oxygen, and you are literally letting go of many more toxins. And I was teaching a class at a conference once, and a man came up to me afterwards, and I was saying, you need to understand that each of your cells are a little factory, and the fuel for your factory is glucose, which your liver breaks your food down into glucose, and oxygen. And it needs much more oxygen than it does glucose. And this guy, he was a scientist, he came up and he said, you need 32 molecules of oxygen for every 1 molecule of glucose to have your cells function efficiently. In other words, to be vitally alive. But not only that, breath can calm down what is agitated. You just got a call from your boss at work and he's just reamed you out about some report that you've done, or you just found out that your best friend has been dating the same guy that you're dating, thinking that this was a single relationship. We all have these things that come into our lives that are shocks. And what we do is we react, we hold our breath, we tighten our body, and then our mind spin in the mud. And oftentimes what we do then is we act out of the reaction, and we cause much more heartache in our lives. To discover how to calm what is agitated and to open what is trying to tighten down and close. To learn that is to then access the wisdom that is always with you. It permeates your whole being. And the chances of responding to the situation, whether you need to respond to yourself or to somebody else, is far greater. And so what I teach, and not a lot of people teach this, is that the key to a healing breath is not in taking deep breaths. Hear people say, oh, breathe deep. You just feel that. It adds tension to the process. And you try that a couple of times and it takes effort. What I invite people to do is to access long, slow out breaths. And then just allow the in-breath to be what it needs to be. And then a long, slow out breath. And these are great to do when you're driving, or you're in the bathroom stall, or you've just had an argument with your mate and you say, oh, hold it, I need a break. And you go into your bedroom, and you breathe these ways because, we see what's going on in the Middle East that comes from reaction. And what I've said in all these blogs and on my radio show is that we desperately need people now that will respond, and to respond in your daily life. It doesn't look like that makes a lot of difference, that you have a choice to react to somebody that is being kind of snide with you, and instead you respond. That's a drop in the ocean of our collective mind. It adds to what I call the we kind of consciousness that's asking to come out of this time of horrible chaos. And so we can use our breath to move out of the reaction mode, which can be so seductive. I mean, you can see in the Middle East how revenge, I mean, revenge is sweet, they say. Well, it's a pill with a sweet outer coating
Mm.
that is so completely bitter on the inside. And they both say we're going to annihilate the other, when in reality, they are empowering the other. And we desperately need people that are going to realize that we're all in this together on this tiny blue-green jewel of a planet, and that it's time we matured. We can see that war is ridiculous. War doesn't ultimately solve anything. Yes, we did have to go to war with Hitler, but it didn't stop what created Hitler,
Mm.
which was fascism. And now it's rearing its ugly head again all over the planet. That comes from what I call the me kind of consciousness that is only concerned about its own welfare, its own power. And more of us are ready, and the world needs us to mature into the we. And breath, I don't know. I mean, I have done alternate nostril breathing while I'm driving to a meeting that is going to be a bit of a challenge. I breathe when I wake up in the middle of the night. I breathe every morning before I meditate. These, just really long breaths. And because I have breathed so much over the years, my God, I probably have the biggest lungs in the whole wide world. So I can take these really long out breaths. It takes a while to 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 open your lungs up again. But if people would just this simple thing of adding long, slow out breaths, just that, and maybe add the sound of the heart chakra. Ah, believe you me, if you are at a Christmas party and things are becoming too much, go into the bathroom and breathe long, slow out breaths, and then look in the mirror, see that you are seeing a completely unique human being that is beautiful exactly as they are, and wink at yourself, smile, and then go back into the party. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny, I with the certification course that I went through for breath work, they did mention the study about the kids.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So maybe I can get that to you
Oh,
so
I
that
would
you can have
love
that
to,
resource.
because yes, absolutely. But it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that people would do, Jennifer, is just notice they hold their breath
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Don't make it wrong. The kind of attention I'm talking about doesn't judge. It's just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, isn't this interesting? I'm holding my breath again.
Yeah.
And then if it calls to you, open it back up with long, slow out breaths. And then of course there's many other breath exercises. Once you get into it, you can, find your own niche, what kind of breath work calls to you. But this will help us as a species to mature and to realize that there's only one of us here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So that was my thing is I would hold my breath, and
yes,
I was a big, heavy chest only breather. So
right,
to really get it into my diaphragm and
yeah,
to learn to take the slow, deep, not slow deep, but just slow breaths in and out,
yeah,
that has made such a difference for me.
yeah,
And, if nothing else, adding years onto my life, which is the ultimate goal,
By
you
far.
know.
By far, and they say, I don't know if you've heard about hormesis, but it's kind of big right now, that they say that it's really good to challenge your body.
Mm.
And they talk a lot about these ice baths or these infrared saunas, which neither one that I can do anymore. But he talks about breathing out and then holding your breath for as long as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Don't force it. Remember, no force here. But that you'll feel your energy begins to wake up in your body. And we are energy beings.
Mm.
We are free flowing aliveness. Our natural state is joy. And it's gotten co opted by this mind that is tight and it's small and it's always trying to do life and do it right. We're not going to make that bad or wrong. That's how we survived when we were young. But we don't have to live the rest of our lives caught in what I call the bubble of struggle. You can learn how to use your attention to relate to all the different pieces that you took on rather than from them, and allow them to let go. We're not fixing anything. We're not getting rid of anything. We're just giving these different parts of ourselves the kind of attention that they need to go, ah. So a quick story from Stephen, that he got into all of this because he was deeply depressed. And he said, I went for years deeply depressed. And this was a few years before his death. And he said, depression came for a visit the other day. And I just welcomed it, acknowledged it, and it lasted for about 3 minutes, all the different parts of it, and it just passed right on through me. So people can use, I mean, this is family time, it's alcohol time, the holidays, it's eating lots of sugar and fats, it's busy, busy, busy. Use it to keep on coming back to you, to this moment, to this breath. I don't care if you only stay there for a breath before you're back up in your head and back into struggle. Just that process of over and over again discovering that everything you long for is already right here, right now.
Mm. Yeah, and just working on yourself, it has such a ripple effect too,
It
because then
does.
people start to notice and then they ask questions, and then you can invite them into, of course, joining in the practice as well. And, then we change the world.
Yeah. Yeah. We need you.
Yeah.
All your listeners, we need you. And they are drawn to this conversation because they are a part of the healing that can come out of the chaos we see on our planet right now. I studied a lot with a man called Brian Swim, and his documentary, The Journey of the Universe, won an Emmy in 1916 or 1980. I mean, 2016 or 2018.
Mm.
And he shows how this is all a journey. This is our story. It's the universe's story. And he showed that in all of these major shifts in evolution over the years, as the old way was dying and a new way was being born, there was always chaos because the old way wanted to hold on. And the new way that is happening now is inside of human beings, where we realize the sacredness of ourselves, the sacredness of every single being, and the sacredness of this whole process called life. And right now, that old kind of mind, they show that the old way always kicked up a big fuss
Mm.
as it was dying and the new was showing up. And that's happening. It is happening. The old kind of mind, the me kind of mind is showing up in politics, it's showing up in wars, it's showing up in so many places. But also, if you look carefully,
Mm.
like this summit, this me, we kind of mind is also showing up. Mhm.
And that's a great insight too, and that gives me a lot of hope.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Mary, you do have a free gift that you are going to be sharing with the listeners. Can you speak on that a little bit?
We are giving a free PDF of my book, What's in the Way is the Way. Yeah. And also, they may want to know that starting on the 15th, we're doing a huge book sale.
Oh,
So for every, book you buy, not the digital, but just the regular books, for every book you buy, you get one book free.
awesome.
And so I think you'll probably have Deborah is my sidekick. She's the one that runs the business, and she's the one that I'm sure they'll have some kind of way that they can get the PDF. But if they want to know more about the book sale, just email Deborah, because this is so exciting. I just feel so strongly that we need to get this message out into the world. The other thing that is happening, and it's just these blogs about the war have just been just pouring through me. And the last blog I wrote is Where is Our Heart? And talking about the Dalai Lama says the basic core of every human being is basic goodness.
Mm.
But we can see through this war that that's been co-opted by this old kind of mind. And I talked about what that was like and what they can do. And I was writing this blog, Jennifer, and I have a course called Falling in Love with You.
Mm.
And I decided I need to give it away for free. And so that is, if they go on my website and go under, you scroll down to blogs and then click on the latest blog, which is Where is Our Heart? When they read that, at the very end is a link to get the Falling in Love with You course for free. It's only going to be available for the month of November. But I just feel so strongly that, to get What's in the Way out, you know, to your audience, to get the books out to more people, to have people really learn how to live from their heart, which begins in learning how to live from their heart with their selves. That's where it all starts. I just felt it was just very needed. So all of those are different ways that they can get into this kind of work.
I am so grateful for you, and that is amazing gift. I'm sure everybody is going to be super grateful as well.
Mhm.
So one last thing that I'm just gonna, one question that I've been asking everybody for their interview is, what is one big tip or trick for those that struggle with mental wellness around the holidays?
Well, I think it's really basically what we've talked about.
Mhm.
I think the holidays amplify something that we try to outrun the rest of the year. And, we have technology, we have access to all sorts of kind of food, we have easy access to gambling and alcohol and all that, that it's so easy to just numb ourselves. And so to really, how would I put it in it just as succinctly, one little sentence, to really know that the most important gift you can give to yourself and to the world is to come back for a moment and just ask yourself, who's here right now? or what am I experiencing right now? Because when your attention and your immediate experience come together, that's how you set all your struggles free.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
So, Mary, what's the best way to follow you on social media?
Just go to oh good God, you asked the wrong person. I have got a gal that does all the social media. So it is, I don't know if it's on my website. I'm on, Instagram and X and, and all of that. Uh, if people want to follow me, then email Deborah, and her daughter Asia is my social media gal, and
Okay.
she would be the one that would be able to guide you to where you can access me on social media.
All right. And if nothing else, your website has tons of useful information.
Tons, yeah, lots of interviews, yeah, a lot of good information,
Yeah.
right?
And that's just your name, maryo'malley.com,
Yeah,
which, we can drop that in the link as well.
good.
Perfect. So thank you so much for joining me. And just a couple of things, make sure you do go to Mary's website or find her on social media, pick up your free gifts, because that is just amazing to me that you're giving away an entire book in PDF, and then also for the other gift you're describing in the blog. And so super grateful for you. You are going to be so helpful for all these people
Mm,
and the
mm,
listeners for the holidays.
mm. It's been my joy. It's been my joy, Jen.
I can tell. I can truly
Mm.
feel that.
Mhm.
And then, of course, also you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Videos and gifts are only going to be available for 24 hours. So make sure you pick up that VIP if you do want to roll back through any of the videos, and, of course, have your access to the gifts. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Mary, for joining us here on this summit. Talk to you later.
Mhm.